The final warning asterisk, the ruined city was silent. Only broken machines and shattered buildings remained. The sky above was red from firestorms, ash falling like snow. A small figure in a gray cloak moved quietly through the rubble, her hands shaking. As she held something close to her chest, she was not human, her skin light blue and her eyes glowing faintly with fear. Her name was Zira, and she had come for one reason only. She stepped over broken glass and stopped in front of a collapsed bunker door. She pressed her hand on the scanner, but it did not respond. With trembling fingers, she pulled out a tool and sparked the panel. The door groaned, then slid halfway open. Inside was dark. But she knew what she was looking for. Lying on the ground, half covered by a dirty blanket, was a human. His armor was cracked, and blood dried around his mouth. Zira's breath caught in her throat. This was him, the one they called Ile, the last soldier of the Earth unit. She had heard stories about him, stories full of fear and strength. But now he looked broken. She kneeled beside him, unsure if he was alive. She touched his cheek gently. It was cold, not dead but close. Her heart raced. Should she leave? Should she stay? The voices in her head screamed both answers. But something deep inside pushed her forward. Outside, a buzzing sound grew louder. Drones. Zira's eyes widened. They were scanning the city for life signs. If they found him, they would erase him completely. No trace left, no return. She bent down close to his ear. Her lips trembled as she whispered the words she had practiced again and again. Her voice was soft but firm. This is your last chance. Human, do it now or never. He didn't move. His breathing was shallow. Zira reached for the device inside her cloak, a small silver cube pulsing with light. It was illegal to use it, but she had stolen it anyway. She pressed it against Eli's chest. A small spark jumped between them. His body jerked, then stilled again. She held her breath. The drones were getting closer, their red lights sweeping across the buildings outside. Any second now, they would. Find this place, please, she whispered. Wake up. Eli's eyes opened slowly, dull at first, then sharp as he saw her face. He reached for his weapon, but his arm dropped, too weak to lift it. Zira raised her hands in peace, fear shining in her eyes. I'm not here to hurt you, she said. I came to help. Why? He rasped, his voice dry and weak. She hesitated. How could she tell him that she had been sent to spy, to capture him, that she had been trained since childhood to see humans as the enemy? But something had changed when she saw the broken message he sent before the city fell. A message not of war, but of sorrow. You don't have time to ask, she said. They're coming. He tried to sit up but groaned in pain. Zira reached under his shoulder and helped him up. His body was heavy. She wasn't strong, but she used every bit of strength. She had to pull him toward the exit. The bunker door groaned louder now, warning them of movement outside. Zira glanced up. 3 red lights were scanning the roof. They had to go now. She dragged Eli into the shadow of a broken hallway. His legs barely moved, but he forced himself forward. Grit and willpower burned in his eyes. Zira saw it, that human fire, the reason her people feared them as they passed through a crumbling tunnel. Explosions lit the sky behind them. The drones had found the bunker. Zira didn't look back. She couldn't. If she did, she might stop, and stopping meant death. After a long, painful crawl, they reached a small maintenance shaft, barely big enough to slide through. Zira went in first, guiding Eli's weak body behind her. Dust filled their lungs, but they kept going. Finally, they dropped into a dark chamber below, old wires hanging like vines from the ceiling. It was quiet here for now. Eli leaned against the wall, his breaths rough and uneven. Who are you? He asked. Zira, she said. I'm not supposed to be here. I'm not supposed to help you. Then why did you? He asked. Zira looked down at her hands, stained with dirt and blood. She had no clear answer, only a feeling, something she had never felt before when looking at a human. It wasn't fear or hate, it was something gentler. Because I couldn't watch you die. she said quietly. Not like that. Eli closed his eyes. Then don't leave me now. She looked at him and nodded. The soft glow in her eyes steadied. She had crossed the line. And there was no turning back. Above them, the drone circled in frustration, searching for what was now hidden underground. They would come again, stronger, smarter. But Zyra had made her choice, and so had Eli. Escape through the flames. Smoke filled the narrow chamber. Breathing was hard. But neither Eli nor Zyra stopped moving. Above them, the drone screamed through the sky. Angry and searching, their chance to escape was small. But it was all they had. Zyra grabbed a rusted ladder and helped Eli up. His body was heavy against her side. His wounds slowed him, but his mind was sharp now. Sharp and watching her closely. He didn't trust her, not fully, but he followed her anyway. They climbed through a crack in the ceiling, entering a half-burnt corridor lined with fire-blackened walls. Light flickered from broken cables overhead, showing them the path forward. Zyra's heart pounded fast as she moved. She had crossed a line she could never return from. "Why are you helping me?" Eli asked again, dragging his leg across broken tiles. Zyra didn't answer right away. She wasn't sure how. She had been trained to see humans as wild things, dangerous, proud, violent. But when she had touched his face back in the bunker, it had felt soft, warm, real. "I couldn't leave you behind," she whispered. "Not after what I saw." "What did you see?" he asked, his eyes fixed on hers. "Your message," she said. "The one you sent before the attack. You said you didn't want to fight. You wanted peace. You asked for mercy, and they burned you anyway." Eli's jaw tightened. That message had been his last hope, a desperate signal to any alien willing to listen. He never expected anyone to care, let alone someone like her. They kept moving, stepping over fallen beams and crossing through a shattered window into the open street. Fire still burned in the distance, and ash floated like black snow. The smell of burnt metal and blood filled the air. But neither of them flinched. Suddenly, a loud screech echoed across the ruins. A drone spotted them from above. Its red beam locked onto Eli's back. "Down!" Zyra shouted, pulling him into cover just as the drone fired. The blast scorched the stone behind them, spraying hot shards of debris across their faces. Blood ran down Zyra's cheek, but she ignored it. "We need to go underground," she said. "There's a tunnel near the old station." Eli nodded, pain sharp in his side. He didn't ask how she knew about the station. He just followed. Every step was agony, but the fire in his chest kept him going. Something about her voice, her presence, gave him strength. They reached the edge of the street and slipped behind a broken transport shell. From there, Zyra opened a steel hatch leading to an old maintenance tunnel. It smelled of rust and mold, but it was safe from the sky as they climbed down into the dark. Zyra hesitated. Her hands shook again, not from fear, but from memory. This tunnel had once led to the place where she had trained as a shadow scout, a place where humans were studied like beasts in a cage. "You okay?" Eli asked, watching her closely. Zyra gave a quick nod. "Yes," she lied. "Let's keep going." The tunnel was narrow, with cables dangling from the walls and puddles covering the ground. Eli's boots splashed softly as they moved. The sound echoed in the silence, making every step louder than it should be. Zyra used a small light orb to guide the way. Her hand reached back sometimes to check that Eli was still with her. He never let go, not once. His breathing was heavy, but steady. They finally stopped near a sealed door. Zyra tapped in a code, and the panel hissed open. Inside was a small chamber with broken screens and storage crates. It had once been a communication post, long dead, now forgotten. Eli collapsed against the wall. Exhausted, Zyra moved quickly, finding an old medkit and tending to his wounds. Her hands were gentle, her touch careful. "You've done this before," he said, watching her. Zyra paused. "I learned," she said. "Not for helping, but for hurting." Eli didn't speak, just stared at her as she cleaned the blood from his skin. She looked away, ashamed. "There's something you should know," Zira said quietly. "I was supposed to bring you in. They sent me to capture you." He didn't react at first, just blinked, slow and thoughtful. "Then why didn't you?" "Because I saw your eyes," she said, "and I felt something I wasn't trained to feel." The silence between them was heavy, but not cold. There was understanding in it. Something raw and unspoken. Suddenly the station lights blinked. A hidden signal activated, an old alert system still connected to surface sensors. Someone knew they were here. Zira froze. "They found us," she whispered. Eli stood, weak but ready. "Then we fight." Zira's fingers tightened around her blade. Her soft face was calm now, her glow turning sharp and bright. She looked at Eli, the human she was sent to betray, and nodded. "Together," she said. They stood back as the ground above shook with heavy steps and the sound of machines drew near. The escape wasn't over, it had just begun. Truths buried in ashes. The old station shook again. Dust falling from the cracked ceiling. Eli held his weapon tight. Barely standing, Zira stood beside him, blade drawn. Her glowing eyes fixed on the entrance. Outside, heavy footsteps echoed. Like thunder, something big was coming. Then the noise stopped. A strange silence filled the air. It was too quiet, too sudden. Zira raised her hand slowly, signaling Eli to wait. She stepped toward the door and pressed her ear to the cold steel. Nothing moved, but her skin tingled. Her people used shadow. Drones, silent killers. She knew how they hunted. No noise, no warning, only death. "We need to move now," she whispered. "They sent something worse than machines." Eli nodded. Pain in his body but fire in his eyes. Zira helped him through a narrow hatch that led deeper into the station. The tunnel beyond was dark and smelled of oil and old blood. They didn't speak, just moved, breath by breath, step by step. After minutes of crawling, they reached a large round room filled with broken screens and rusted equipment. Old human tech, forgotten by time. Eli stared at the control panels, his hand brushing across the dusty surface. "This was our link to Earth's fleet," he said, "before everything burned." Zira looked around, confused. "Why didn't they come back for you?" He didn't answer at first, his jaw clenched, eyes filled with the past. Then he spoke, voice heavy. "We were told help was coming. We waited. Months passed. Then the skies opened, but not for rescue." Zira lowered her head. She had seen the strike from afar. Her people had lied about it, called it a mistake. But now she knew it was planned. Eli and his unit were left behind to die. Zira moved to a hidden panel, pressing a sequence of buttons. The wall opened to reveal a small glass pod. Inside was a glowing cylinder wrapped in wires. Eli stared at it, shocked. "You had this the whole time," he said, voice low and sharp. Zira nodded slowly. "It's your code," she said. "The one they feared. The one that can unlock Earth's final defense system." Eli stepped closer. "But that code was locked inside me." "It still is," Zira said. "But this device can draw it out, activate it." Eli narrowed his eyes. "And kill me in the process." Zira looked away. "Yes," she whispered. "If you use it, your body won't survive the strain." A long silence filled the room. Eli turned away from the pod, breathing hard. "You want me to die?" he asked. "No," she said quickly, stepping toward him. "I want you to live, but I also want your people to have a chance." Eli leaned on the console, memories crashing in his mind. He remembered his team's final stand, the last message he sent, the screams that followed. He had lost everything. Now this alien girl stood before him, offering him a choice his commanders never gave. Zira placed her hand on his arm. "You don't have to choose now," she said. "But time is running out." Suddenly, the screen beside them flickered to life, static first. Then a face appeared, twisted and sharp. It was Zira's sister, the enforcer. Her voice cold like steel. "Zira," the voice said, "you broke the oath. Return now, and you might be spared." Zira froze, her breath catching. Eli watched her carefully. She didn't move. The face continued. That human is marked for erasure. You have one chance: deliver him or be erased with him. The screen went dark. Silence returned. Eli sat down slowly, looking at Zira. That was your sister. Zira nodded. She doesn't forgive. Ellie smiled faintly. Family, he muttered. Complicated even across galaxies. Zira didn't laugh. Her hands shook slightly. She had defied her own blood, her own people, for him. Now they would hunt her too. What now? Eli asked, voice calm but steady. We hide, Zira said. And then? We choose. Eli stood again, limping toward the pod. He stared at the glowing cylinder. If I use this, Earth may survive, but I won't. I won't let you do it alone. Zira said softly. He turned to her. Why me, Zira? Why risk everything for someone you didn't know? She looked into his tired eyes. Because when I touched you, I didn't feel a monster. I felt a man who wanted peace more than war. The floor rumbled beneath them. Another signal alert flashed red across the console. The enemy was close again. Eli placed his hand on the pod, not yet to use it, but to feel its weight. Zira stood by his side, her cloak torn, her heart steady. They had no backup, no reinforcements, only each other. But in that moment, it was enough. The hidden signal asterisk. The silence in the room felt heavier than steel. Eli stood with his hand still on the pod, but his eyes were fixed on the screen that had just gone dark. Zira stood beside him, her pulse loud in her ears. She had betrayed her kind, and now her own sister was coming to finish her. I know where we need to go, Zira said quietly, breaking the silence. There's a deeper core below this station. That's where the backup signals were stored. Elile narrowed his eyes. You're saying the signals still live? Maybe, she answered. Or maybe it's a trap. He gave a small nod. That's all we ever get now. They descended through a hatch behind the control panel. The old stairs groaning with every step. The lower level smelled like burnt wires and dust. It was darker here, colder. The lights barely worked, but Zira's glow lit their path. They entered a chamber filled with ancient consoles. Blinking faintly, some of the monitors showed static, others flashed strange symbols. One screen pulsed with an old Earth logo. Eli's heart jumped when he saw it. This place still has power, he whispered. Zira walked to the central station and placed her hand over a round sensor. It scanned her palm, paused, then accepted her. The system opened a hidden panel and revealed a crystal-like shard resting inside a magnetic field. Eli leaned closer. That's not human tech, Zira nodded. It's ours. We used it to intercept human distress calls, filter them, and sometimes rewrite them. His fists clenched. You mean every time someone cried for help, you decided if they deserved to be heard? She didn't deny it. Her voice was quiet. It wasn't my decision, but I helped run the filters. We were told humans were too dangerous to save. Eli stared at the shard, rage and disbelief mixing inside him. So when my team called for help, the call was rerouted, Zira said, and erased. He turned away, face tight with anger. And you expect me to trust you? No, she said. I don't. But I'm still here. The system buzzed, and a light flashed. A new signal was active. It wasn't a distress call, it was a tracking code. Zira's eyes widened. It's a pulse beacon, she said. Your DNA is broadcasting a signal. What? Eli said, shocked. I never activated anything. Zira moved fast, fingers racing across the controls. It's not you, it's the pod. When you touched it, it triggered a hidden command. They know where we are now. Eli cursed it under his breath. So they wanted me to find it, wanted me to turn it on. Zira looked at him, fear creeping in. It's a trap. They were waiting for you to come back to this place. Above them, the station rumbled again. The lights flickered, and a shrill sound pierced the air, an energy drill cutting through the upper levels. Zira's sister had arrived. She'll come through the wall, Zira whispered. She won't wait for the door. Eli gripped his rifle, checking the power cell. Then we don't wait either. Zira opened the crystal casing and grabbed the shard, stuffing it into a secure pouch on her belt. If they want this, we take it with us. There's a backup shaft under the floor, Eli said, pointing to a rusted panel. We used it once to escape bombardment. Zira helped him pry it open. The tunnel below was small, barely enough for one person to crawl through, but it led away from the station, away from the trap. As they dropped inside, the room above exploded. Fire rained down, and part of the ceiling caved in. The shockwave pushed dust and heat down the shaft, but the walls held. They crawled for what felt like forever, the air growing thicker with smoke. Finally, they reached a hidden chamber, smaller than the last, but protected by ancient shielding. Inside was a wall of old human data cores. Eli stared at them in awe. This is everything, he said. Logs, comms, orders, it's all here. Zira moved to the main core and activated the screen. Her eyes scanned the data, and her face grew pale. What is it? Eli asked. Zira swallowed. They knew, she said. Your command knew this mission was suicide. You were sent to die, not save. Ella's face turned to stone. They gave up on us. No, Zira said. They used you. You were the bait for the real operation, while your friends burned. Eli stepped back, his heart pounding. Then what am I now? You're still the key, she said. But now you know the truth. He looked at her, broken but burning. Then I'll make them remember it. Above them, another explosion shook the tunnel, but they didn't run this time. They turned to face the path ahead, carrying the truth like fire in their blood. Together, they would burn the lies to ash. Betrayal's edge asterisk. The chamber shook again, heavier than before. This time it wasn't drones or bombs. It was her. Zira's sister had reached the lower station. Eli stood in front of the data core, chest rising fast. He had just learned that Earth abandoned him, used him as bait. His blood burned with truth, and truth tasted worse than betrayal. She's here, Zira said, backing toward the shaft entrance. I can feel her. Eli gripped his weapon but said nothing. His thoughts were louder than his voice. Everything he believed in, his command, his mission, his sacrifice, meant nothing now, except that he had survived. Zira reached for his shoulder, her hand warm against his armor. Eli, we need to move. He pulled back, eyes sharp. Why? So I can run again, hide in shadows while they decide if I deserve to live. Zira's lips parted, but she didn't speak. He wasn't angry at her, not fully. He was angry at a galaxy that kept choosing power over truth. Suddenly, the wall burst inward. A sharp light blinded them, and a tall shadow stepped through the smoke. Her armor gleamed with silver spikes. Her cloak waved like fire. Her face was cold and beautiful, and filled with rage. Zira, the voice cut like a blade. Step away from the human. Zira stepped forward instead. No, she said. Not this time. The sister narrowed her glowing eyes. You've broken blood bond. You've joined the enemy. He's not the enemy, Zira said, her voice shaking. He was left behind. Betrayed, just like me. Eli stepped beside her, ready to fight. The sister raised a hand, and a blast of force slammed into him, throwing him back into the wall. His weapon flew across the room. Zira screamed and rushed to him. Her sister moved fast. Faster than a human could see. She appeared behind Zira, blade drawn, but she didn't strike. Instead, she whispered, "Come home, Zira, you're not one of them." Zira looked up, tears in her eyes. "I was never one of you either." The sister's eyes narrowed. "You're choosing him, a human, over your own blood." "I'm choosing what's right," Zira said. "Something you never taught me." The sister's blade dropped slightly, her face unreadable. "You were always the soft one," she said. "But softness kills." Eli groaned as he stood, blood running from his mouth. "Then let me show you how strong soft can be." Zira rushed to him, helping him stand. Her energy flowed into him. Her skin glowed brighter than ever. She placed her forehead against his, and something passed between them, something deeper than words. The sister raised her blade again, eyes burning. then die with him. Zara didn't flinch. So be it. As the sister struck, Eli lifted his hand. A surge of power exploded from his palm. The room cracked with light. The pod's energy still in his blood had awakened fully. The sister flew back, crashing into the far wall. Her blade shattered. Her cloak burned at the edges. She rose slowly, eyes wide with disbelief. He activated the core. She said, "That's impossible." Zara held Eli as his body trembled. He was barely standing, but still breathing. "I shared the strain," she whispered. "I gave him my life flow." "You linked with a human," the sister whispered. Stepping back in horror, "You've ruined your lineage." Zara stood tall, fire in her eyes. "I made it stronger." The sister turned and vanished into a smokescreen, fleeing through the broken wall. For now, she was gone, but she would return. Zara collapsed beside Eli, her skin flickering with fading light. He caught her, holding her in his arms. "Why did you do that?" he asked, voice rough. "You could have died." She looked at him, smiling faintly. "So could you." He held her tighter. The chamber now quiet again, but not calm. The data core still pulsed, and the activated pod hummed in his chest. There was no going back now. Outside, alarms echoed in the city ruins. The signal had gone out, to both human and alien systems. It carried Eli's genetic code, but rewritten, free from control. It would summon allies or enemies. Zara coughed weak. "They'll come for you now." "Then I'll be ready," Eli said, "and I won't be alone." She rested her head against his shoulder, smiling even in pain. "No, you won't." Above them, fire rained down from the skies, but inside, two broken souls had become unshakable together. "Do it now or never." The storm above was no longer distant. The ground cracked as skyfire slammed into the outer station. Eli held Zara close as the walls trembled. The ceiling groaned with each thunderous strike. They didn't speak. They didn't need to. Eli's body was burning from within. The pod's activation had awakened something he couldn't control. It pulsed through his veins like lightning trapped in flesh. Zara had tried to share the pain, but it was tearing her apart too. She lay in his arms, skin flickering between glow and shadow. Her body wasn't made to carry human code. Yet she had done it anyway for him. "You have to use it now," she whispered, voice faint. "The window is closing." Eli shook his head. "Not if it means losing you." Zara smiled weakly, brushing her fingers against his cheek. "If you don't, we both die anyway." He closed his eyes, breathing hard. Somewhere above, ships were coming. His pulse told him they weren't human. They carried no peace banners, only war. The pod in his chest vibrated violently, wanting release. He had only seconds left before it would collapse on itself. Either he released its full power, or it would destroy him from inside. Zara sat up slowly, wincing with every move. She placed her hands over his chest. Her energy mixed with his again. Gentle and warm, she looked into his eyes. No fear, only trust. "This is your last chance. Human, do it now or never," she said firmly. Eli placed his hand over hers. He felt her heartbeat, faint but strong. He didn't want to lose her, but he didn't want to lose Earth either. And now he realized something painful. He couldn't have both. "Guide me," he said. "I can't do it without you." Zara nodded. Her hands pulsed with light as she connected to the core within him. Together, their energy surged. The room filled with blinding brightness. The walls cracked, the floor lifted. The pod began to spin, its energy expanding in waves. Pain exploded through Eli's body, but he stayed upright, not because of his strength, but because of hers. Zara's voice echoed through his mind, calming the storm. They were no longer just two bodies. They were one bond, locked in purpose. The signal shot into the sky, cutting through fire, smoke and clouds. It spread across the stars in all directions. It was not a call for war. It was not a cry for help. It was a warning. Earth would not kneel, not again. The alien ships above paused. Their scanners intercepted the signal. Confusion rippled through their command. This wasn't the message they expected. It came from human code but carried alien energy. A mix impossible to forge. Inside the station, Eli collapsed to his knees. The light around him dimmed. The pot inside him shattered. Zira dropped beside him, her breathing shallow. She had given him everything, and now she had nothing left. "Zira," he whispered, lifting her gently. "Stay with me." Her eyes opened slowly, tired but calm. "Did it work?" "Yes," he said. "They're hesitating. They don't know what to do." She smiled. "Good." Her head rested against his chest, and her glow faded. Eli held her tightly, rocking slightly. He wasn't ready to let go. Not now, not ever. Outside, some ships retreated. Others hovered silently, waiting. The war had been paused, not ended. But the galaxy had seen something new. A human didn't destroy the system. He had rewritten it with the help of one who was supposed to be his enemy. The chamber cooled. The fires above began to die. Eli remained on the floor, holding the girl who had saved him. Not with weapons, but with trust. Footsteps approached. From behind, slow and cautious, he turned his head sharply, aiming his rifle only to see survivors, humans, real ones, their armor marked with resistance flags. "We got your signal," the commander said, eyes wide. "But we thought no one was left alive here." Eli stood slowly, Zira still in his arms. "We are now," he said, voice firm. The commander looked at the alien girl, surprised but said nothing. Instead, he saluted, and others followed. Zira stirred, eyes opening once more. "Eli," she whispered, "you made them see." He smiled down at her. "No, we did." In that moment, surrounded by fire, ruins, and silence, one truth became clear: peace was never given. It had to be earned together. The one who stayed asterisk. The sun rose for the first time in years over the ruined city. Its light touched broken towers and melted steel, but it also touched something stronger: life. Zira opened her eyes slowly, blinking against the warmth she had never known before. She was lying in a clean bed, wrapped in soft sheets. Her body was still weak, her limbs sore, but her heart beat steady. She turned her head and saw a wide window. Outside, a human flag waved beside a banner marked with alien script. She sat up carefully. Her skin no longer glowed as before, but she felt calm, safe. A small door hissed open, and Eli stepped in, wearing light armor, his chest bandaged, a warm smile on his face. "You're awake," he said gently. "I wasn't sure you'd make it." Zira looked at him, eyes soft. "I wasn't sure I wanted to." "Not if you didn't." He sat beside her, placing a warm hand over hers. "We're both still here somehow." She noticed the room around her, simple but clean. Technology blended from both sides. There were human machines and alien tools side by side. No walls, no guards, only trust. "Where are we?" she asked. "A resistance base," he said. "They followed the signal, found survivors, and brought us here. They accepted you without a word, because they saw what you did." Zira's lips trembled. "I thought they'd hate me." Eli shook his head. "They're tired of hate. They've buried too many friends to keep digging graves." She squeezed his hand gently. "And your people?" He leaned back, eyes distant. "They're broken, just like me. But maybe that's why we're finally ready to listen." Zira rested her head against his shoulder. "Do they know what you gave up?" "They know enough," he said. "But it doesn't matter. What matters is we showed them something real." Footsteps echoed outside. Voices in both languages, laughing, sharing food, planning. Zira listened, stunned. This was not the galaxy she had grown up in. This was something new. "I never thought peace could begin in a place so filled with death," she whispered. "Maybe that's the only place it can begin," Eli answered. "When everything's been burned, all that's left is truth." A small girl peeked through the door, her eyes wide with wonder. She had scales on her cheeks and a human face. Zira gasped. Softly, "She's hybrid," she whispered. "That shouldn't be possible," Eli smiled. Turns out a lot of things are possible when people stop obeying orders and start asking questions. The girl giggled and ran away. Zira watched her go, eyes shining. She's beautiful. So are you, Eli said. Without hesitation, Zira looked down. Shy for the first time, her skin glowed faintly again, not from power but from warmth. Connection, hope. I'm scared, she admitted. What if the galaxy falls back to the old ways? Then we remind them, Eli said. Every day. Every voice, we remind them with how we live. Zira smiled, her fingers brushing his. You still sound like a soldier, he laughed softly. Maybe. Or maybe I'm just someone who finally found something worth protecting. Outside, the city was slowly rebuilding. The first tower had lights again. Farmers worked the land nearby. Children ran between tents. The world wasn't perfect, but it was alive. A message pinned on the wall screen. A request for council human. And alien representatives forming something new. Zira looked at it, then at Eli. Do we go? She asked. He nodded, standing and offering his hand. We started this, we finish it. She took his hand and stood beside him. Two former enemies, no longer chained by past orders or old lies. They stepped through the door, into the light of a future they had carved with blood, courage, and choice. People stared as they walked together, some with awe, others with confusion. But no one stopped them. No one dared, because in the middle of a galaxy torn by war, one truth now stood. Taller than any banner or fleet, the alien girl who had once been shy, and the human soldier who had been left to die, had saved each other.